What's up, everybody? Welcome to GoJo and Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., Emerson Lazio holding it down for us in the DraftKings studio in Boston. We are brought to you by Wrangler, made for the ride of life. Save 15% on your first Wrangler.com order with promo code GOJO15. Got a great show for you guys. As always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, review. Leave us that 5-star rating. Check us out on DraftKings YouTube channel, DraftKingsNetwork.com, Samsung TV Plus, and more. Going to talk a lot of Ryder Cup today as we got that starting tomorrow out in Rome. We are very excited for that. We're going to talk to Will Gray, Golf Bet PGA Tour analyst, as we get set for that, as well as Keegan Bradley, a guy who we know has had history on the Ryder Cup team before with the U.S. dad, wanted to be there this year. Just about that dynamic. It's one of the most unique events in golf. It's one that players seem really bought in and dedicated to. And so very excited to get in a lot of golf action, which I know you and Emerson are definitely excited about.
Oh, I'm very excited about that. Obviously, NBA as well. The Ryder Cup's way different time zone, so we'll have fun watching that one. And oh, by the way, we haven't won on the road in 30 years, so since 1993. So U.S. has their work cut out for them. But as we get into today and a lot of topics in Thursday Night Football as well, Emerson, I'd like you to join me in wishing GoJo a happy birthday. Yeah,
look at you.
4 years young today. Maybe that's why you just said GoJo in the beginning. You wanted your show back just for your birthday. But happy birthday, son. Happy birthday.
Okay.
Appreciate that, guys. And listen, it's only appropriate, right, that I would be entering my Giannis year at 34 on a day where we get to talk about a blockbuster trade for the Milwaukee Bucks. Am I right?
Yeah. You know what? I'm rooting for them to win the title again, only because last time, remember Giannis rolling through a Chick-fil-A drive-thru the next morning and went with what was his order? It was like a 50-piece nugget, or no, with the mini biscuits.
Yeah,
and then also I think he did the half lemonade, half Sprite thing, and that just became a phenomenon at Chick-fil-A's around the country after that.
Yeah, it did. So Mike, obviously you're not going to win an NBA championship. So if you get your birthday meal, would it be drive-through Taco Bell? Is that where you'd be heading?
Yeah, drive-through Taco Bell. I'll be heading back, so I'm calling the Notre Dame game in Durham this weekend. And I feel like Durham's probably far enough south to have a Waffle House, so I wouldn't mind adding that to the fold this weekend, too. I know we talked about that a lot yesterday, so it's probably just top of mind. But, yeah, I'd take that one. Honestly, big milkshake and burrito phase for me right now. If we're doing Taylor Swift eras, that is mine currently. So maybe that'll be the birthday meal today somehow, some way.
Well, if it's a shake, I'm doing Portillo's and the cake shake. I mean, that's where I'm going. I haven't found a better one yet, so you'll definitely have your choices out there.
Buddy, you've got 3 Waffle House locations in Durham, so you're good to go.
Nice, Emerson. Well done. That's the way to go.
The advanced scouting report is in as we head into the weekend. So I'm going to clog my arteries and get some entertainment, hopefully see a fight or two in that Waffle House. Appreciate that, guys. Shout out to Mom and Dad for making it all possible.
Yeah, putting in the work.
That's how we roll. That's how we roll.
Guys, speaking of the Giannis year, like we mentioned, let's get to the damn trade. Everybody looked up, and it's so nice in this day and age where I feel like the idea of a Woj bomb has become something that's woven into the fabric and, can apply to a lot of things. There's a lot of NBA news that falls under the purview of these insiders. This was a genuine Woj bomb where everyone put their hands on their head, actually uttered something as they looked down at their phone and saw Portland Trailblazers guard Damian Lillard, who we talked about just yesterday as maybe potential front runner to go and land with the Toronto Raptors. No. Instead, we get the announcement from Woj that Dame has been traded to the Milwaukee Bucks as a part of a 3-team deal that also included the Phoenix Suns that will now have him playing alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo and trying to go out there and, Dad, recreate the magic from that 2021 season for Giannis as he has put his organization's feet to the flames very publicly. And seeing this yesterday, Dad, it worked. The Giannis media tour of going out and saying, hey, you know what? I want to stay in Milwaukee forever, but if they're not competing for a championship, if we're not all aligned in that goal, I could see myself playing elsewhere. Milwaukee heard it. They went out and they made it happen here in a big-time way, Dad. This is a huge, huge day for everybody around Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's a monster day. We'll hear from some of the players in Miami who think it was a monster day that was premeditated as well. So it'll be very, very interesting. 7 players, 3 draft picks, 3 players went to Portland, including Drew Holiday and DeAndre Ayton, and Portland maybe looking to move Holiday. But I think the question here, Mike, is going to be, and we're going to talk to JJ Redick in a second, is Portland going to keep Drew Holiday or looking to move on from him? And was this a good deal for Portland, or should they have kept looking elsewhere?
Yep. So for more on that, let's welcome in ESPN NBA analyst and host of the Old Man and the 3 podcast, JJ Redick, kind enough to join us now. And JJ, let's start right there. This trade goes down yesterday. Were you as surprised as the rest of the basketball world looking on?
I was. My first reaction, I was actually on a Zoom yesterday when we all got the notification, and I said some explicitives. I was that surprised. I really was. I think for Milwaukee, this is a great move. You have a chance to add one of the best players of this generation and a guy who I think fits perfectly with Giannis. His ability to stretch the floor out of pick and roll, allowing Giannis to, play in more space. You think about who Giannis has run pick and roll with in Milwaukee, primarily Eric Bledsoe, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton. None of those guys are the deep threat that Damian Lillard is. And so defenses are really going to have to make some tough decisions about where they put the big who's guarding Giannis in pick and roll. And if they step up and they're up at the level of pick and rolls, Giannis is going to get behind the defense. He's going to score. He's going to make plays. If they're back in a drop, Dame's going to have all the space in the world to get his threes off. So the combination of those two, to me, is just a perfect fit. And of course, you hear rumors. I mean, some guys that I know in the NBA were texting me a few days ago. Toronto's in the lead. I never really heard the Bucks, chatter, and they ended up getting it done. So yeah, very surprised that it was Milwaukee that he ended up with.
Dame may get that first title. They went from 4th favorite to favorite now on the NBA. And we'll certainly get more into the Milwaukee side of it. But JJ, on the Portland side of it, when they're going to make that split, it's certainly the obligation of Portland, the team, to make the best deal possible for them. This is now a business decision. In your mind, do you think this was the best business decision and the best trade, or should they have looked elsewhere?
Well, I don't know the particulars of other teams' offers, right? And certainly there were a lot of notations about what Miami in particular could have offered or was offering, whether those players and picks were true or not. I like this deal for Portland. First of all, you get Ayton, and he probably fits in with your timeline a lot better than Nurkic does. So that's one positive. You do get, some draft compensation. That's a second positive. And then if you think about it, you get a package back for Dame. And in that package, you get a guy who still is playing at an all-star level in Drew Holiday, you're going to get another package for him. So I think when we sort of look at this deal for Portland and give it a grade, whatever that grade may be, it's incomplete because they're going to move Drew Holiday. And I think Drew Holiday, if we're being honest, depending on where he ends up, that could swing, a team's title hopes immediately. I mean, he's that good, especially defensively, where he can really impact the game on both sides of the ball. So to me, it's a little incomplete for Portland, but I do like the deal for Portland.
Who should be going after Drew Holiday, JJ?
Well, Miami. I mean, the other thing, the thing that immediately, I'm starting like, oh, well, I think the natural thing here is the Clippers, 76ers, and Portland, a 3-team trade, right? Where Portland gets something back. Drew fits really well next to Maxey. Harden wants out. He ends up with the Clippers. And everybody sort of benefits, I think, from that trade.
Are you looking at now Milwaukee as the favorite to win the NBA title? Do you think this vaulted them there?
I had them in tier 1 before this trade. Of course, they're still in tier 1 after this trade. I just think what we've seen, particularly over the last, call it 5 seasons, going back to 2019, and you guys know this, the NBA playoffs is a game of attrition. And as we've seen again and again, it's the team that can stay healthy. Some people might call that luck, but it really comes down to which team can stay healthy. I think Boston, Milwaukee, Denver, to me are all tier 1. And then if I had to do a tier 1A or a tier 1B, I'd probably put a number of teams in there and probably start off that list with the Lakers.
JJ, last one before we let you go. How big a blow is this to Miami and Pat Riley for having a guy call his shot saying he wanted to be there and not being able to ultimately land the fish?
The one thing about Riley and the Miami Heat is they're awfully resilient, and they will find a way to bounce back, and Riley will probably have an opportunity to swing for the fences again with somebody. And maybe that ends up being getting Drew Holiday, who would be a great fit on that team. It's an underrated part of this, because I was having this discussion yesterday with an NBA buddy of mine. An underrated part of this is camp starts on Tuesday. Media day is Monday. So if you're Harden in Philly, if you're Tyler Hero in Miami, if you're Jovic in Miami, like all these guys that have been in trade rumors since July 1st, like you've got to go to media day on Monday. You've got to practice on Tuesday, and look, I think it's the nature of the business, but never underestimate the effect of interpersonal dynamics in the NBA. The more I played in the NBA, the more I get away from the NBA and have conversations with people around the league. It's something that the casual fan maybe doesn't quite grasp. And this team came back. It's the same team. Why are they not as good as last year? Well, that guy hates that guy, or the coach and this guy don't get along anymore. They stopped speaking in May of last year. That is the case so often. I'm not just saying this with Tyler here in Miami, but I think if you look at all the teams that have been talked, like even if you think about Toronto, right?
Yeah.
Toronto, since going back to last season and the trade deadline, how many guys on their roster have been in trade rumors?
Yeah.
Right? How much uncertainty have a ton of players, because of James Harden, because of Damian Lillard, a ton of players have had all this uncertainty over the summer, and it's like, all right, we got to go do media day and answer questions and then practice with our guys on Tuesday. It's going to be a great NBA season, guys.
This league being shouted from rooftops everywhere. It's incredible. JJ, we appreciate you joining us on such short notice, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Listen, Mike, he is so right about that. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'll be honest. My decision when I left Philadelphia was a personal one.
Yeah.
And it was dumb. And I keep trying to tell, guys that are in leagues, don't make it personal. Don't make it personal. It's all a business decision, but it's way easier said than done. It is personal, especially now in my sport of football. You don't hear trade rumors a lot, but you do in the other sports, especially baseball and basketball, where he's right. I mean, you're in trade rumors. You're talked about being gone from that team, and then camp starts and there's a mic in your face, and they're going to ask you about that. So what's the relationship between you and other players, you and management, at that point? And this goes back to the fact that players are human beings. They have feelings. They take things personal. They hold grudges, and as much as you don't want to do that, it's going to happen. Great for the person that can just push all that aside and say, this is just business. I'll be, stonewalled as far as my feelings are concerned, and just go play no matter what I hear. That's unfortunately probably more the exception than the rule.
Yeah, it makes me think back to I think it was last year's Celtics team coming into the season. I mean, that had been an offseason, correct me if I'm wrong, if it was that offseason or the one before, where there had been a lot of Jaylen Brown trade rumors, right? People wondering about his future
Past
with the Celtics.
Years, Mike, that's the rumors have been galore with him.
And that team has still been able to go out and accomplish. So to JJ's point, it's not like these guys are going to show up and be totally inept, but when you're playing with very thin margins, all that stuff starts to matter. And this is going to be a crowded field now. Like, Dad, the one other team in all of this. So just to refresh for anyone that wasn't familiar with all the mechanics of the trade, I know we had to dive in with JJ right away there. In this 3-team deal, Portland receives Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, and Tamani Kamara. Milwaukee's 2029 unprotected first, a pick swap in there as well. The Suns get Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson as a part of that trade package. And the Bucks get Damian Lillard in all of this. So, Dad, we've got the Bucks, who now, I think before, were always with Giannis going to be in that top tier, like JJ said, in the championship odds and what people expect. I probably wouldn't put them over Denver right away, just respect to the champs and what they've built there, but they're absolutely uttered in that same breath. For Portland, it's going to be about what they can flip Drew Holiday for here, but their timelines change now. They're not a team that's trying to win here and now anymore. Young backcourt there. They got eyes on the future here. The other part of this, Dad, is the Phoenix Suns now going out there and trying to get a little depth and create some of that going into this season. That was the big Achilles heel for them last year as they started swinging for the fences and acquiring Brad Beal on top of Kevin Durant and all those moves. The Suns are now a team I'm sure a lot of people are going to look at in the Western Conference and say, well, this should go a long way in helping those depth issues and make that team even more of a contender.
Yeah, I mean, they've been trying to get rid of DeAndre Ayton for a little bit now. And as JJ Redick said, he thinks Ayton will fit better in Portland for them, and he wasn't fitting that well in Phoenix. Listen, the top teams had been Denver, Boston, Phoenix, Milwaukee. Now that, again, some places may have put Milwaukee now back on the top, but Milwaukee is also, Mike, in kind of a Los Angeles Rams situation now. They're void of draft picks. I mean, this is it. And it's fine. I mean, if you're going to make this move, but it's got to pay off in a couple of ways. A title, Giannis hopefully signing that max extension, so he's going to be there a while. Now, at the end of the day, if they ever had to blow it up, they have a couple of great things in Giannis and Lillard to trade to get stuff back if it were to completely fall apart. But they are all in. Like as I said, they are void of basically draft picks. So this is. And I don't blame them for doing it.
I was going to say, there's one metric of success or failure if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, and really one prism through which to make your decisions and see your decisions through. Does this get us Giannis for longer?
Yes.
Does this allow us to make the best player on our team happy as possible? And we go back to what we mentioned off the top. Giannis had been very forthright during his media appearances. This is what he did before he signed his last extension with Milwaukee, is go out and say, I'm here until I'm not. I'm here until I feel like this place isn't working earnestly every day to go out and be in line with me on my championship vision. Milwaukee does this. Dad, I got to imagine Bucks fans feel a lot better about the prospect of Giannis potentially signing that max extension. He said it wouldn't be something they visited till after this summer. I'm wondering now how renewed the charge is going to be to try and see if he'll put pen to paper going into this season, because now they have Dame there with some contractual control and a future that looks a lot brighter.
Yeah, I mean, you have to say, players in the NBA, the stars, have more power than any other sport, right? And Giannis spoke up about what he wants. He wants what everybody wants, a team that's trying to win, don't get me wrong, but he said it publicly to kind of put that public pressure on the organization to get it done. And they went out and they got it done, right? I mean, I would say, hey, Giannis, was this good for you? If they're going behind the scenes, is this cool? I'm sure Giannis is going to say, hell yeah, I like this. They keep showing the video of Giannis and LeBron picking the All-Star team, and Giannis's first pick was Dame Lillard. So I got to imagine he's pretty happy with getting a 33-year-old.
Yeah, he said
nobody is slick.
Junior, he said this summer, I'm a Milwaukee Buck, but most importantly, I'm a winner. If there's a better situation for me to win the Larry O'Brien, I have to take that better situation. Listen, the Bucks heard him loud and clear and ended up landing Lillard.
They did, and it'll be interesting, Dad. We'll get back to your point about the player empowerment side of this. Giannis got what he wanted by speaking up. Dame Lillard did not.
Ooh.
Coming up next, though, let's get a little Ryder Cup action heading into tomorrow next.
Welcome back to this glorious weekday program we call GoJo and Golic. Friday morning, 1:35 Eastern Time. The glorious event known as the Ryder Cup tees off in Rome. Get this, Team USA has been favored throughout the calendar year to win the Ryder Cup over Team Europe up until this week. The USA, once favored as high as -190 here, guys, now sits at plus 105 on the DK Sportsbook, not too far behind Europe, which is now even money at plus 100. Makes more sense considering the U.S. has not won on foreign soil since 1993. You guys are breaking it down with Will Gray right now. Let's go.
Yes, GolfBet PGA analyst Will Gray joining us now as we get set to go for late night on the West Coast for me, or early morning tee off for golf tomorrow. Will, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Mike. It's a pick your time zone sort of week here at the Ryder Cup.
Really is.
It really is. And it started off with a bang. So we've got to ask you right out of the gate here. We've got everyone teeing it up, getting some practice in. And Victor Hovland holes one on a par 4 here. But we've received word that it was his second ball. So, Will, in your mind, are we counting this as an ace? Is that just a birdie? How do we score this?
Yes, sources here on the ground in Rome can confirm it was his second ball. That was a reload. So if you're mean, that's a great birdie. But I still think, listen, I'm waiting on my first ace on a par 3. If I make that shot, that's definitely going down as a 1.
I mean, he Happy Gilmore it. That's I don't care how many balls you hit off the tee. If you make it, that's an impressive thing. That's just unbelievable. So, you know, you heard Emerson give the odds of we were the favorites and now not. We haven't won away from home, as he said, since 93. So what can make that different? What are the keys for the U.S. to win this thing?
Yeah, it's almost like the bettors woke up this week and realized that the U.S. hasn't won a road game in 30 years, and now the money has started to flood in as a result. It's hard. Everything has to go right if you're going to win a Ryder Cup on the road. You go back to 2006, the only one that has been won by the away team was the Miracle at Medina, and so that was certainly a crazy Sunday. More often than not, the home team has a pretty significant advantage. I think it's interesting that we're having a foursomes alternate shot Friday morning. That's first out. It's the harder format. It's where the Europeans are stronger. If the U.S. can hold their footing tomorrow morning, I think they're going to have a great shot because then they're going out in the afternoon and they're going to have their strength with best ball, 4 ball. So we'll see how it goes, but I think it could be a pivotal first day.
Do you expect it to be as close throughout as the odds seem to suggest right now?
I don't know. I mean, the problem is we've had lopsided Ryder Cups the last 3 times, and it's something where when one team starts to feel momentum, it tends to build, especially on Sunday with 12 singles matches. So it makes my eyes start to drift towards some of those alternate handicaps, maybe laying 1.5 or 2.5 points, because it can get out of hand in a little bit of a hurry. But when you look at these teams on paper, you feel like it's 15-13 one way or another, and you can make big cases for both teams.
So talk about some of the strategy here from what I've been reading. I'd love you to expound upon it. For this course, takes kind of where the Americans have the advantage of the short irons and wedges and have to go more with mid irons and long irons, where the Europeans may be a little stronger. Is that holding true in this course?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it spot on. The Europeans believe that they have a strength and an advantage from about 180 to 220 yards. And so they want to set up a lot of the par 4s and par 5s to play into those sort of distances as opposed to making this a wedge contest. It is going to be interesting. You have 3 drivable par 3s. So a lot of, like we just saw with Victor Hovland, they're reachable par 4s rather. They're reachable. So we're going to see a lot of guys putting for eagle on some of those holes, and a couple of the par 5s you can get there in 2 as well. But I do think there's a strategy for sure, and not only tightening the fairways. The rough is pretty thick out here if you spray the ball well off target. But you're going to see a lot of 5, 6 irons for approaches, whereas the U.S. might prefer to have a course where you're hitting a lot of 8 and 9 irons.
So Scottie Scheffler right now is the current favorite to lead the tournament in scoring. Who else out there do you think could step up and challenge him through the course of this?
Yeah, I'm not buying Scottie Scheffler to lead the Americans. I understand why he's there. He's a top-ranked, player on the U.S. squad, but he's still struggling on the greens. And last time I checked the match play, especially, it matters if he can make a 5 or 6 footer when it counts. He's been working with Phil Kenyon, a putting instructor here all week. He's grinding a lot. I don't love the sense of a guy grinding, Wednesday, Thursday, heading into this tournament. So my eye is going to Xander Schauffele. I think that Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay are a reliable pairing. It's one that I expect to see in multiple team matches. Xander has played really well in President's Cups and Ryder Cups, so you're getting a little bit more value if you go a little bit further down the board and you get Xander Schauffele for top point scorer, especially on the top U.S. point scorer market.
So from a ranking standpoint, U.S., all 12 of their players are in the top 25, 7 are in the top 12. For the Europeans, 7 are in the top 25, 5 in the top 12. Which players from both squads, Europe and America, do you expect to play all 5 matches?
Not many. This is a very tough walk. It's a very hilly course. I think that both captains, if they have their choice, they would prefer to have everyone sit at least one match. I think it's going to be more likely that we see one of the Europeans go all 5, and specifically it's going to be one of their big 3. John Rahm, Victor Hovland, Rory McIlroy. You mentioned all those rankings, but the Euros have 3 of the top 4. They're really top heavy and have strength at that part of the lineup. Victor Hovland played all 5 matches. at Whistling Straits. I feel like of the three, he is most likely to go all five, not just because he just made a hole-in-one on a par four today. Rory McIlroy wears his heart on his sleeve. I want to make sure if I'm Luke Donald that he still has some gas in the tank for Sunday singles, and similar for Jon Rahm. So I could see Victor Hovland maybe going all five, but I don't think you're going to have a ton of guys going double dip for both Friday and Saturday.
Do you have any, especially among some of the rookies on either side making their first Ryder Cup appearance? Any bets you're really into? Any guys you got your eye on this weekend?
Yeah, I don't understand why we don't have love for the Open champion. Brian Harman, DraftKings has his over-under set at a half point. I think that Brian Harman is going to have a pretty good week, and I could see him pairing with a couple different players. I think this course specifically really sets up well for him, how well he drove the ball at Royal Liverpool. So I think he can play three matches and certainly get a point or a point and a half out of those three. So it's a juicy market and a juicy price, but I definitely think I would take the over on Brian Harman for total points.
What would you say is the U.S. team's weaknesses in this match?
Putting. I think if you go down the list, it's not just Scotty Scheffler, but there's a lot of guys that are very reliable ball strikers and no one that you really trust on and around the greens. So I think that if the U.S. is going to win, a big piece of it is going to be how well they perform on the greens and making putts. These greens around here are very undulated. They're very segmented, kind of funky and very different from what they're used to seeing on the PGA Tour. But they're also going to need a big step up from some of those rookies, not just Brian Harman, but I'm expecting a big week from Max Homa. He was undefeated last year at the President's Cup. And I think that if the U.S. is going to put more points on the board than is expected, a guy like Max Homa needs to deliver 2.5 points in that process.
Hey, Will, I was going to say, I think that's another reason to back that prop there with Brian Harman, because top-ranked player on tour in scrambling and putting from 6 feet, two essential categories if you want to win a match at the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think specifically with foursomes, if you have a guy that drives it as well as Brian Harman, if you take someone like Scotty Scheffler or Brooks Koepka or whatever, if I'm having those guys hit their irons from the middle of the fairway, because Brian Harman's going to put you there more often than not, I think that that's a great opportunity. And then you get to have him hit his irons from where Scotty Scheffler's driving the ball. So I would look specifically to foursomes as a place where Brian Harman could get a couple of shots, and I think he could get some real favorable matchups.
Awesome stuff, Will. We appreciate all the time. It's going to be an exciting weekend coming up here for the Ryder Cup. We'll see if the U.S. can erase 30 years of history on the road and try and make something happen. Enjoy it. Hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, great to be on. Thanks for having me, and get the coffee brewing for tomorrow morning.
Well, you're not kidding. You are not kidding. That is well, I am so looking forward to that. As also,
sexy coffee.
I'm looking forward to possibly seeing Will and a lot more other people at the DraftKings Sportsbook at TPC in Scottsdale. They're opening up a monster sportsbook there, restaurant. It's going to be fantastic. I was there for the groundbreaking a while ago, and that's going to open up in October. So I'm going to be out there for that. It's going to be an unbelievable venue. So I'm sure I'll see Will out there and others from the PGA and many, many people. I'm really, really looking forward to that. It's going to be one incredible place.
It'd be nice to start that off with a U.S. Ryder Cup road victory there. 30 years is, after a while, it's one of those streaks that even for guys, and there's plenty of newcomers in this, and Emerson, 30 years encompasses a lot of dudes. There's something very mental about that after a while. When something builds up that long and you're trying to be the first one to break through the wall, even coming off of a dominant Ryder Cup win when it was back on U.S. soil.
Yeah, the movies to watch in '93, Jurassic Park, Sleepless in Seattle, and Free Willy.
Incredible. Back after this, GoJo and Golic.
Damian Lillard from the Blazers. What did that do to their title odds? I'm glad you asked. They now are the favorite to win the NBA championship. They are now the favorite to win the Eastern Conference. They are now the favorite to win the Central Division, which they probably were before. And to earn the number 1 overall seed, those odds go from plus 220 to plus 125. So, yeah, acquiring Drew Holiday helped lift the Bucks over the top in pursuit of an NBA title. And now GoJo, they're hoping that trading him away will do the same.
Yeah, and you know, I think it's really interesting here in a couple angles from Milwaukee's side and certainly from the Miami side of things. For Dame Lillard, first and foremost, this guy's going to be looking up now and playing competitive basketball, playoff basketball with the hopes of a championship, really for the first time meaningfully in his career. That's not just tied to him. Like, he's going to have help. And I know he's had CJ McCollum and others over the years. He's had quality guys, but he's going to walk into this, Dad. We always talk about it for like receivers with single coverage. Everyone's focus is going to be on Giannis. And so the life of Damian Lillard got made infinitely more easy because of this trade. And on the other side, man, it feels like Miami is kind of dying right now. Jimmy Butler yesterday took to Instagram to offer up what he believes the NBA's course of action should be next based on everything we've seen.
Yo, NBA, man, y'all need to look into the Bucks for tampering. Y'all do. I'm just going to put that out there. Y'all didn't hear it from me, but I heard it through somebody. Y'all look at him for tampering.
So, Dad, is Jimmy just in his feelings, or is there something we need to look at here?
Well, yeah, and then Tyler Hero said, you know, yeah, look at that. And listen, I have no idea. I mean, there are those that think, you know, that this was a deal that was made just to make sure he didn't go to Miami. I mean, is Portland doing that? Is Portland doing that to Dame Lillard? Because remember, he talked about that's where he wanted to go. Giannis is getting what he wanted. And you mentioned, you know, a while ago, I talked about player empowerment. Dame doesn't seem to be getting what he wants, but I don't think he's going to complain a whole lot because he's going to a team that's now favored to win the NBA title. And that's the only thing missing off, you know, his resume of 11 years, 7 All-Stars, 7, you know, All NBAs, 8 playoff appearances, a Western Conference final. He's missing that title. And now he has a great chance to get it in Milwaukee. Miami, maybe they'll be in the hunt for Drew Holiday because that's going to be the name out there now. So I unfortunately don't. Even JJ Redick, we had him on, doesn't know enough about the particulars of this to know, was there any tampering involved, or is this just, you know, some sour grapes by the Heat?
Yeah, hey, Junior, it is unclear, like, how serious Butler is on that front or what information, like, he's claiming to know. It is interesting that Tyler Hero retweets that because, you know, potential trade packages that would have sent Lillard to the Heat frequently revolved around Tyler Hero, who is starting a 4-year, $120 million extension now.
Yeah, the Tyler Hero portion of this is always interesting. And I heard Brian Windhorst talking on the Hoop Collective yesterday saying the Heat and Bucks hadn't talked in quite some time.
Yeah.
In the lead up to this deal either.
Which also makes me ask, okay, clearly the Bucks and the Blazers don't have that great, or the Heat and the Blazers don't have that great of a relationship. So what makes us think that actually the Blazers will ship off Drew Holiday to the Heat, where JJ Redick said earlier that's where he feels Drew Holiday would be a good fit?
Well, maybe at this point, Dad, it's desperation if you're Miami, because while they might try and play it cool publicly, and JJ said Pat Riley's always going to be in the mix to try and swing big and swing for the fences again, this was a massive public loss for them. This was a major overture where they had a guy that wanted to be there. They had a big-time star player from another team that verbalized, Miami's the place I want to go, put out all the PR and the sources at the beginning to try and make that happen, and it didn't work out. And now for a team that's trying to maximize an aging Jimmy Butler that's been at the core of what you've done as a team, something like this and missing out on that leading into the season maybe heightens that sense of urgency.
You know, maybe, in all honesty, Mike, maybe it worked against him a little bit that Dame talked about going there, because we talk about player empowerment, the thought is, well, Dame wants to be here, we're going to get it done, so we'll offer less. You know, we won't offer as much because he wants to be here, and that's kind of how it's going to work, and we'll get him. And it didn't work that way. Now, again, and as JJ Redick also said, we don't know all the other packages around. The one thing we did seem to know is with Miami, Tyler Hero was involved in the package there. So we don't know what the other offers. We never knew what was going on with Toronto. We certainly didn't know what the hell was going on in Milwaukee. We had never even heard them. So we don't know what the offers were. But like I said, maybe Miami felt kind of, in a comfortable position. Well, Dame wants to come here, so we're going to get him. Let's, and that's how it works in business, right? If you're trading for someone, you want to give up as little as possible. And if you're trading someone, you want to get as much as possible. And you find that happy medium. I don't know enough about the personalities of if there's anything spiteful in this. All I know is if you're Portland, you need to find the best deal for your organization. You're giving up a guy that's been everything to you and your organization. You have to get what's best for your team in return. Whether this is or not, I have no idea, but they got draft picks. They also are one draft pick and some draft swaps. And then also they have the Drew Holiday package that's going out there now. And where, is that going to be Clippers, the Pelicans, the Knicks, the Kings? Who knows? It's Miami.
I think it's totally dependent on what the Drew Holiday package ends up being, because they're going to move him. And so ultimately for Portland, that's going to be there. I saw Amin Elhassan yesterday on Levitard say that this felt like a spite deal, but I have a hard time buying into as much of the sour feelings on this, and it works into the player empowerment conversation because, Dad, player empowerment's worked when guys have been willing to make it ugly. And going back to when Adam Silver and the NBA sent out the memo essentially telling Dame's camp to stop doing this as publicly, it seems like that fastball kind of brushed them back off the plate. Damian Lillard has not been willing to go out here and make this messy on behalf of the Portland Trailblazers. It hasn't felt like a relationship where he's gone out and burned it, especially in recent months. It's been very quiet around that front, and it's why I was surprised that things were going to get done here this quickly, even weeks and a couple of months after everything initially went down, just because yes, we know NBA players tend to get what they want, but that's usually threatening to sit out. It's threatening to create really distracting headlines as we get towards the start of training camp. And that all just never seemed like stuff that was in Dame and was reflected in the actions throughout the course of this.
No, it's the squeaky wheel syndrome, right? I mean, the latest being Harden. And that'll be interesting how that situation is going to work out.
That's a great point. James Harden went to China and chirped the GM of his team publicly. We haven't seen anything even remotely close to that by Dame.
No. It seems Dame and Portland have a good relationship involved here, and I don't know how good. Let me put it this way.
What makes you say that, Emerson?
Well, because Dame dropped like a diss track yesterday, like the song that he dropped with Dame and about the Blazers. I mean, it was kind of like a farewell to fans, but a couple of the lines: in the future, man, I hope we greet with hugs and kisses, but you should know they're the ones who chose another mission. Another line: I can never be replaced. They'll know sooner than later. An arrow pointed at who I assume was greater. Amazing what I get in return for this labor.
That was really nice by you. Yeah,
wow, that's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Wow, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
but I guess the point is it was released yesterday, right? It wasn't released.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's been cooking for the past couple of years. I think this thing's been recorded.
So that's fine cooking. My point is nothing public. He didn't release that track 2 months ago, to where it made it ugly publicly before he was traded.
Yeah.
He did it after he was traded. There was nothing that showed discontent publicly like we've seen other players do. And I guess that's my point. It was all kept more in-house, where you're right, Mike. Usually if guys bang the drum really loud, more stuff happens for him. And Damian Lillard didn't do that.
No, he didn't. And I guess if the end goal was to get to Miami, it's a failure. But if it's out of spite, the consolation prize being that you now go to a team that with your presence has been vaulted to the favorite to win the NBA title, it hardly feels like they sent him to Siberia. We can put away the Adam Silver, get ready to learn Chinese buddy memes. And kind of look at this and say what he got out of this for Damian Lillard's ultimate goal. After he declared this, when he said referenced in that rap, they decided on a different timeline. They drafted younger. They didn't make the moves that Damian Lillard wanted to see to indicate this franchise was serious about pursuing a title with him. And so they sent him to a place that's as serious about pursuing a title as any, because their star player keeps publicly chirping the organization. Back after a few here. It's GoJo and Golic.
When it comes to the division, at the end of the day in the NFL, you got to win your division. So when you have division games, it is important to go out there and be your best and be on your A game every single time you have a division game. So there obviously is a little bit more emphasis on bringing it those games. Obviously, we'll be on the road, so we're going to have to bring our juice over to Lambeau. You know, we know that stadium well. And yeah, we just got to go out there, play 1,000 miles per hour, play our game, play physical, be violent, be smart. And I think we'll handle our business.
All right, Jason Cabinda will not suit up this week, but the rest of the Lions going to have their work cut out for them tonight on the road, Lambeau Field in Green Bay, place they won in Week 18, spoiled the Packers, spoiled Aaron Rodgers' final game in a Green Bay uniform. Jordan Love, though, expected to have his good buddy and top target Christian Watson back for his season debut. It's time for a Thursday Night Football preview. Kick off your NFL weekend with Thursday Night Football on Prime. It is on. So this will also be, guys, Jordan Love's primetime debut. First time since '93, we all know this, that Green Bay started the season with a quarterback under center, not named Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers. Interesting fact here. Brett Favre first posted 8+ total touchdowns in the first 3 games of a season in his 5th season as a starter. Won MVP that year in '96. Rodgers first posted 8+ total touchdowns in the first 3 games of a season in his 4th year as a starter, 2011, won MVP. Jordan Love just did it in year 1. What do you think, GoJo? Jordan Love for MVP. Let's go.
Yeah, you know what? Not quite ready to pull the trigger on that just yet, but he's been very impressive considering you mentioned, and the key element of that is their 4th year as a starter. This guy's in year 1 of playing meaningful snaps and has already been able to manufacture some pretty incredible moments like their comeback down 17 last week against the Saints. And Dad, tall order now, they're home dogs to the Lions this week in a division matchup, and it's the give and take, right? It's, yeah, he's going to get Christian Watson back finally, who would be huge for them. The Lions, one of the teams that struggled in the NFL, giving up explosive pass plays going back to last year. But up front on the other side, David Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins both out on the offensive line. That was the big strength and selling point for this team going into this week. And so it's going to be kind of the same math problem that's affected teams like the Bengals in recent years is, hey, if I've got these great receiving weapons and I want to attack deep, am I going to have the time to do it with backups in along the front?
Yeah, that certainly hurts them. But along with Watson, Packers are getting Aaron Jones back as well. So you got the Jones-Dillon 1-2 punch in the backfield, which can really help your quarterback with play action pass. Now, because Jordan Love, listen, only 1 interception. He's not turning the ball over, but the completion percentage, I think, is just over 52%. That's not great. So let's see what getting back a couple of players is going to get you, even though, as you mentioned, a couple of the guys on the O-line are out. You know, Green Bay has such a monster lead in this series, but it doesn't matter. Guys on this team don't care. It's kind of like Burrow and those young Bengals saying, we don't care about the history of the Bengals. We're here now and plan on winning now. and that's the thought process of the Detroit Lions. They have a horrible winning record overall against Green Bay, but they've won the last 3, including knocking them out of the potential of getting into the playoffs in week 18 last year. So they are riding that 3-game streak right now. They are on an upswing without question. I think this is an excellent matchup for the two teams I believe we both feel are going to be fighting for the NFC North title.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the Bears and Vikings, you can put them off to the side and out of it, right? We're going to talk about them in a matchup of the defeateds that's going on this weekend, the 0-3 teams in the NFL all playing each other. So it's a 2-horse race. And Dad, the thing that starts to make me feel nervous here, and this is just holdover from this weekend, is this situation feels eerily familiar to what we just went through with Notre Dame and Ohio State. You've got a team with a great opportunity on an upswing in the Detroit Lions, who are now expected to win things this year.
Right.
Went and played last year, and we're still the plucky underdog, missed the postseason, but walk into this year in a world where there's a changing of the guard, going up against a Green Bay team that's feeling as gettable as it's felt in a while, because you got a new guy at quarterback that is talented, but you're still feeling out. All of that lines up. It makes me feel like Ohio State winning on the goal line might be a predictor for a Green Bay team that's a home dog and might feel some type of way about this.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate that. Listen, I'm looking forward to this one. The little matchups inside Detroit is allowing a ton of receptions to tight ends. So, look for that to be one of the issues going on tonight in the game for Green Bay. Will they use? I think Luke Musgrave has what I believe 11 receptions this year. So I think that's a matchup to look for, as I imagine Green Bay's running is as well. Rookies have been playing a big part for both of these teams so far this year. I'm just, it's one of those, we know how it works. A division game, you need to win your home division game. So this would be a monster win for Detroit to get the first of 2 times you play your division teams to get one on the road.
Yeah, you mentioned the tight end portion of things. Really not great start for Detroit. They've given up 25 receptions for 263 yards to opposing tight ends, both the highest in the NFL through 3 weeks. And keep in mind, during this time period, they faced the Seahawks, the Falcons, and the Chiefs without Travis Kelce. So it's not necessarily been a murderer's row of talent going out there and gashing them at those spots. So, Dad, you're right. Which way do you lean in this one right now? I feel like the Detroit Lions, it's been a roller coaster of emotions starting in night 1 of the NFL season, the loss to Seattle the following week, but they get back on track and dismantle a Falcons team that played a really close one with Green Bay before. I would probably lean Detroit right now on the road, even all things considered. I think it's as close as the spread indicates here, but I would probably take the Lions in this one.
Yeah, I think I would probably lean that way. It's going to be interesting for the Lions in their pass rush, right? They had 7 sacks, you mentioned, against Atlanta, and you talk about a couple of old linemen out for Green Bay. So how much pressure will that put on Jordan Love? That's why I think they need to lean a bit on that run game to kind of slow down the pass rush a little bit. I think that's going to be important for them. And I love the matchup from scoring and not scoring. Lions, I think in 12 consecutive games are over 20 points, and Green Bay has held 7 of their last 8 under 20 points. So Green Bay is while Jordan Love is still finding his way and doing well, by the way, he's doing well. This is another team that you want to lead on the defensive side of the ball. So it's a matchup I'm looking forward to. I would probably lean toward the Lions a little bit, but boy, this is almost a pick 'em to me because it's in Green Bay. I'm not looking at a revenge thing for Green Bay last year, losing at home and getting knocked out of the playoffs. That's their own damn fault. I mean, revenge there. They should be embarrassed that they had that on the line and couldn't come out and play better than they did. So I'm not all of a sudden looking at, we need to get revenge on Detroit. No, you need to look in the mirror and why the hell you didn't get that done in week 18 and have no bearing on this year's game other than it's a division game at home that you're supposed to win.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. The embarrassment of that could still be a motivator. And listen, it's a division game. Like you said, it's not like you're lacking for motivation there. But right. I do think it's about what you mentioned on the lines of scrimmage and which Jekyll and Hyde version of the Lions front we're going to see on defense. We've talked about the strides Aiden Hutchinson's made, but that's a team 7 sacks last week, 1 in the first 2 weeks before that. And I get you were going up against the Chiefs offensive line that's one of the best in the NFL, but you caught Seattle at a moment where they had 2 backups in. That should have been a lot more productive than it was in my mind. what version of that you're going to get. I think having the two best offensive linemen, even for a team with depth like Green Bay out, makes a big difference. And on the other side right now, we'll see Taylor Decker and Jonah Jackson both questionable as per the last injury report from yesterday going into this game. But we know on its best day, that Lions offensive line, one of the best in the NFL, road graders, good at setting up what they want to do. It's not a really difficult system for the Detroit Lions, right? They want to set up deep play action shots, breaking towards the middle of the field for Jared Goff. It's where he's been most comfortable. It's where he remains the most comfortable. And for this Green Bay Packers defense that's trying to reset a standard that didn't exist last year, that's a challenge going against this Ben Johnson offense. I lean in favor of the Lions, and I think they get the win on the road tonight.
Yeah, I think so as well. Watch where Aiden Hutchinson lines up on defense. I love how they move him around, and you're talking 2-0 starters out for Green Bay. They'll try and he's their best pass rusher, try and match him up since he can line up on either tackle or on the inside. They'll try and match him up on the weakest lineman, probably one of the backups. So I love how they do that. And if they can get back to that pressure side of it like they did against Atlanta, I would favor them in this one as well.
Could be a fun matchup if nothing else. Al Michaels could feel good about this one. I don't think we'll have to see Al Michaels getting into his bag of jabs by the fourth quarter. Coming up next, though, let's take another look back at the Ryder Cup with a guy who knows all about this international play. Next.
All right, we talked about it a little earlier in this show, but golf's most compelling duel returns tomorrow morning, extremely early tomorrow morning on the East Coast, 1:35 Eastern time. So good for GoJo out there out west. He could stay up a little later and enjoy himself. The two teams on both sides, the Americans and the Europeans, absolutely stacked. Both teams also bringing 4 rookies to the table. And rookies, by the way, have played a pivotal role for the U.S. within the last 15 years. Listen to this, GoJo, boasting a 54, 33, and 20 record since 2008. And we just so happen to be joined now by a man who was a rookie for the Americans in 2012. Take it away, GoJo.
Yeah, it feels like a long time ago, I'm sure, right now, 2012. Keegan Bradley, kind enough to join us now here on the show. And Keegan, take us back to that moment for these guys that are going to go out there and lace it up for this team for the first time. What were the emotions like for you?
I think why rookies do so well in the Ryder Cup is they don't really know what to expect. Like, you can hear from the veterans and they can tell you, but until you get onto that first tee and you feel like you're going to die, then you don't really know. So going into it, your second one, you're kind of bracing for it. So I think rookies can do well, especially when you're paired up with a veteran. I get to play with Phil for all of my matches, and that always was a huge help.
It's great to be young and dumb sometimes, right? Where
That's right.
you don't really know the magnitude of the moment. And Keegan, as we get into this, certainly part of the story is you not being selected for the team and right there on the cusp, and a lot of people thought you would be. So just if you can just take us through that before we get in and break this down. It's a selection process for people that may not know, and I don't know if anybody really would know that at this point, and just how that process went and just how bummed you were.
Yeah, I mean, I there was a point in my career where I thought I was going to play in every Ryder Cup every year, and then it got to the point where I sort of had resigned myself to I'm not going to ever play in one of these again, and I became okay with it. And then all of a sudden, I'm back in a spot where I thought I was going to make the team, and I was so excited. And it was just a stressful end of the season, waiting for that to figure out if I was going to be on the team, and I got the call that I wasn't. And I've gotten a few of those calls. I've gotten a call that I was on the team. It's brutal, but it's just motivation. I got to work harder, get better, and get on the next one.
Why does it matter to you and so many guys to be a part of this? Why is this so special to players?
It's almost impossible to express what it feels like to be out there. It's so different than anything we play in. And we all, as golfers, we all crave that locker room team atmosphere. And we just don't get it. And we're all super jealous of the guys that play sports where they can be together. And we have friends and we root for them, but we're playing against each other every week. If I'm watching, Scotty Scheffler and I'm on the Ryder Cup team, he's my teammate. I'm in my bones pulling for him. And it's just a fun week. And then you get these moments in the team room that we don't get as individual players. And it's really, really, really special.
Let me tell you, as a fan, I love watching golf, but then to watch the Ryder Cup, and because it's a team event and because of who you guys are representing, it is so cool. But take us even further into that of how because you play an individual sport. Now it's a team sport of how you work together with your teammate on the course.
Yeah, so once you're on the team, you kind of figure out who you're playing with. You got to figure out for alternate shot, if you're going to be odds or evens. And back in the day when Phil and I played, we had this figured out maybe months in advance. We'd be already talking about it. And then you got to figure out the golf ball dynamic of what's your partner golf ball, what he's playing. Can I even hit that ball? Is it a super spinny ball? Is it firm? So there's a lot of technical stuff that goes into this, but then today's the day where they're going to do the opening ceremonies and the matches are told and who you're playing. This is when it gets real. This is when the laughing on the practice rounds, all that stuff stops. This is gut check time. So this is when it gets real. And but you're in it with somebody. You're in it with a team, and you never get that. When I go out and play, I'm in the final group of a tournament. I don't have anyone to pass the ball to, and it's nerve-wracking. And then all of a sudden, you get to share this sort of fear and stress with somebody, and it's just great.
You mentioned that camaraderie, the camaraderie in the team room. Do you have a favorite memory from hanging out with the guys in any of these Ryder Cup trips?
Yeah, I remember this is Medina. I had only been on the tour for a year and a little bit, and I got invited. This is before the matches. This was at the Tour Championship, and I got invited to a team dinner. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting at this table with Tiger, Phil, Jim Furyk, big boys. And I'm 25 years old. I was playing the Hooters Tour 2 years earlier, and I'm looking around at this table like, holy cow, bro. This is really, really serious. And I'm looking at legends and my heroes that I grew up with, and they're talking to me as a teammate. And it was stunning. I'm even getting chills thinking about being in this private room, looking around at this table and being a part of it. And, these are things as even in your dreams as a kid, you don't really think about these moments of being in a room with these guys, no cameras, no nothing. Everyone's just hanging out. And it was really, really amazing.
That had to be an incredible moment. Wow, that's very, very cool. More nervous, your first major you played in, first tee shot, or your first tee shot as a rookie on the Ryder Cup?
So the way it's Ryder Cup, and it's so much worse. Like I can't even. I say this is what I explain to people. At majors, I'm nervous like a sporting event. In Ryder Cups, I'm nervous like there's somebody chasing me with a knife. Like I'm scared. That's the difference. There's a different type of nerves. It's not I'm nervous to let's get going nerves. It's like, oh my God, I don't know what's gonna. If I feel like this, can I tee the ball up? Like this is the sort of feeling that you have. And then you go and when you play well, you think, oh, there's nothing more than this. Like if I can handle this, I can handle anything.
So short of someone chasing them with a knife as maybe an excuse for why the U.S. hasn't won on European soil in 30 years, what do you attribute that to? Why has it been so difficult for the U.S. to win abroad?
I honestly, I have no idea. Other than it's way hard. We're on a road. It's a road game. But, I mean, teams win road games all the time. It's one of the most baffling stats that I know of in sports. I don't know the answer to it. It doesn't make any sense because it seems like over the years, especially, I mean, the teams were so good. I can't explain it. I don't know. When people told me that originally, I thought, that's got to be wrong. It can't be right, but maybe this is the year.
It's interesting. There's been another obviously thing put into golf with LIV. As a matter of fact, on the European side, Henrik Stenson was the original captain and breached his contract by going with LIV. So Luke Donald is the guy now, and we know there are LIV players playing in this. Is there any, do you feel that anymore? Are we past the animosity part toward players that had played with LIV, or where is that, and will that be an obstruction at all in the Ryder Cup?
I think that the tension was sort of amplified by media and news articles. I never felt any of that. I think there's a small group of guys on each side that feel very strongly. One of my best friends is Brendan Steele. He was in my wedding. He went to LIV. Other than being bummed out that I don't get to hang out with him at tournaments, there's no hard feelings. I have no hard feelings for anybody that went. Now, the people that went, they had to know the consequences of going in terms of not being a part of a Ryder Cup or whatever. So I never have felt that, but in the guys, they don't feel it. Brooks is on the team. There's none of that. They want the best players on their team to win the Ryder Cup.
Do you think for some guys who might have been weighing that decision, you mentioned the consequences of their actions, that something like being excluded from this event would mean enough to guys to say no to all of that money and what LIV was trying to offer them?
100%. I mean, in my sort of thoughts about it, for me, when I played the U.S. Open at Brookline in Boston, and it was such a magical week, and the fans, and I thought to myself, I can't miss these majors. I can't, because I knew if you went to the LIV, you weren't going to get world ranking points. So maybe in the future they will, and they can. But I knew if going there I wouldn't be able to do this stuff, and so that's got to be part of your decision. Now, how it goes forward, it could all come full circle, and they get world ranking points, Ryder Cup, and that seems to be the direction it's going.
Yeah, it does, and it just seems the LIV guys will have got a whole lot more money.
Yeah,
and then come back, and hopefully the PGA guys can get that made up somehow, some way. Back to the Ryder Cup. So again, I like when you're able to take people down inside to places we will never be. When they're trying to figure out the pairings, the teaming up of who's teaming up with who, what are they looking for these players to be matched together?
So you you make a list. They send you a thing. Who do you want to play with? Who do you not want to play with? So if you don't want to play with somebody, they're not going to be. There's certain personalities that they may really like each other, but it's not a great partnership or team, So and then there's the history part of it of Jordan and JT have played great together, so it'd be silly for them not to play. And then you got to look at the golf ball for alternate shot. You go odds, evens, you tee off separately. So if we're partners and you play a Titleist and I play a Strixon, I'm going to hit your ball off the tee so you can use your ball for the second shot. You see what I mean? So
yeah.
So if you have a person on your team that plays the same golf ball, you're going to play with them an alternate shot because then you don't have to deal with any of that. So you get up, let's say you miss a green and you got a chip. Now I'm hitting a chip with a ball I've never chipped with. So if I'm playing with you and we both play Strixon, and it's an automatic alternate shot pairing. When I played with Phil, this is what made him such an unbelievable partner. He could handle it better than I could. We just played my ball the whole time. So it was such a bonus. So such an easy thing for me. It helped me a ton because you got to start hitting that ball weeks beforehand. You got to see, okay, when it's blowing 10 miles an hour out of the left, this ball gets hit a little more than my ball, or around the greens, this spins a little less. So I got it. It's a big adjustment.
So I have never, that is amazing. I have never heard that. I mean, I can hit any ball known to mankind, and I can still slice it. It doesn't matter which ball I hit. Does it become mental for players if they have to hit a different ball?
Yeah. So for us, the golf ball is the most important part of our equipment. So we base our whole, our driver, our irons, it's all based on the ball. The ball is the most important piece of equipment. So you have to be prepared. So a lot of guys like Jordan and JT, they both play Titleist. So that's an easy pairing. And then, you can go down the list of guys who play TaylorMade or whatever, but for the most part, you tee off with your partner's ball and alternate shot so they can use it for the second shot because that's where it's most important. But, these guys have all done this a million times, so it becomes easier as you get going.
So who did you not want to play with then in 2012 and 2014?
I mean, I can't. I'm sure.
Come on.
Well, I wouldn't want to play with somebody that. So this is getting really golf technical here, but I am very spin deficient with my club, so I need a very spinny golf ball. The more spin you have, the more accuracy you use. So if I play a ball that's really firm, I won't be able to play. So if I know X player plays a really firm Titleist golf ball, I can't play that ball. So I would be like, I don't know if that's a good pairing. Okay. But for me, Phil played my ball for 2 Ryder Cups and 1 President's Cup, so I never even had to deal with this, which was great.
Did you have Tiger Woods on your list of guys you would play with? You're like, yeah, I would play with that guy.
Yes, certainly would have.
Put Tiger down as the first 3 spots on there.
How about it?
I just want to make it abundantly clear, guys. I'm ready to go if he needs me.
So do you think in pairing or with you deciding who you'd like to play with or not play with, it's more from the technical side than from the personality side?
I'd say it's a little bit of both. Personality is definitely going to be, I think on the U.S. side, personality is definitely a thing that they look at more. They've also, over the last couple of years, really gone deep into this analytics stuff. And so you can figure out on alternate shot, okay, the guy who tees off on the odd holes is going to putt 6 times more for birdie. So you want your better putter to tee off those holes. Or the guy who tees off the evens is going to hit more approaches. So his stats show his approach, he's 10th in approach. So that's a great spot for him. So there's a lot of analytics behind the scenes that goes on.
It's incredible. I mean, it's proliferated every sport, so we shouldn't be surprised, especially one as technical as golf, as you described it there. Keegan, for this year, are you going to watch, were the feelings around this strong enough to where you don't feel like you'd be able to put this on, or are you still going to be watching the guys?
No, I'm going to watch. The family was planning a vacation earlier, and we both, my wife and I, were like, this is a Ryder Cup weekend. We got to watch. I mean, I'm pulling for these guys. I'm devastated, to be honest, that I'm not on the team. I go through waves of sadness, anger, and then sometimes relief. I don't know. But, when I see the guys all hanging out, there's moments that I'm going to miss are the bus rides to the course, little stuff like this that we don't get in our sport. And sitting around at dinner, telling stories. Those are the things, because you get, those last a career, those last a lifetime. And this generation of players, what my teams, none of these guys were there. So it would have been fun for me to be out there with these guys, but I'm going to be watching every second.
Hey, listen, you hit on the biggest thing, in team sports, when they say what we miss the most, it's the locker room and it's hanging out with the fellas. So that's exactly it. I would love you to tell this story again about the bag from 2012 that you haven't unpacked. I think this is one of the more amazing stories.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw it last night in the garage. Just when I think I'm over the not being on the Ryder Cup, little things remind me. And I was getting something out of the garage, and I saw it with dust all over it. But the 2012 Ryder Cup was so devastating. I mean, it was. I think about it almost daily, honestly, to this day. It was so devastating, and the memories of even the clothes that we wore, and you get all these opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies, jackets, shoes, even socks, head covers, and it was such a devastating Sunday that I zipped up my team issued suitcase, and I said, I'm not opening this again until I win a Ryder Cup, because I couldn't handle it. And I played in the one in 2014, and we lost. We got smoked. And then, I was really thinking that this was going to be the year. And, so it's still there. And I hope I get another chance to win one. To be completely honest with you, if I go my career without winning a Ryder Cup, it's going to be tough. Even when I'm 70 years old, thinking back, it'll be a devastating thing.
Yeah, that was like the sequel to the comeback in 2012, except it was on the European side instead of the American side. I know 2014 wasn't a whole lot prettier there either, Keegan. Yet you could make an argument that, especially Phil's comments in that press conference, set off this chain of events that really put the U.S. in best position to compete and win a Ryder Cup moving forward in decades because of the blueprint that really changed for long-term success. Would you agree with that, that some of the negative in those years actually has helped moving forward?
Well, without question. It needed it too. We needed the players to be a little bit more involved. I mean, way more involved. We needed a little more control with us. I mean, that Ryder Cup is the opposite of 2012 for me. It has just horrible memories. We got crushed. Phil and they sat us for an entire day. We sat the entire Saturday session. We didn't play. We beat Rory and Sergio the first day. They were ranked 1 and 3 in the world. And then we played the afternoon match. We lost. That was our first Ryder Cup match we've lost together. And then we didn't play all of Saturday. And it was devastating because that's my last sort of memory. And then that Sunday I played Jamie Donaldson, and I hadn't played in 2 days. It was bizarre. I teed off at 3:00, and he beat me to win the point to win the Ryder Cup. So that's my last. That's everyone storming the green. Yeah, it was tough.
Keegan, we only got about a minute left. We appreciate you being as candid with all this,
has been great.
As you have been here. It's really eye-opening, I think, for a lot of people to hear what's going on the inside. A quick pick for you. If you think there's going to be a hero in the U.S. pulls this off, who is it for the U.S. team and why?
Justin Thomas. I think that I love Justin. I think that he's a generational talent. I think he's got something in him that other guys don't. He's tough. And he's a nasty dude in these Ryder Cups. He's going to be tough.
Awesome. It's going to be awesome, man. We're all excited. I know you are excited, like you said, to watch here. Thanks so much, Keegan. We really appreciate the time this morning, man.
Thanks, Keegan.
Thank you, boys. Go Patriots.
Thanks. There you go.
There we go.
There it is.
We wanted to get into the Patriots with him, see if Mac Jones is going to be the guy,
Yeah, maybe if he stops hitting people in the nuts, they'll be good.
He's not hitting. I've seen every angle of that video. I don't see it.
There we go. Keegan Bradley, definitively Mac Jones, not a sack tapper.
We're going to bring him back to talk Patriots football.
Exactly. Thanks, Keegan.
Thanks, Keegan.
Oh, my God. Wow, there we go. You know what? He studied the game tape, and he's decided no on Mac Jones going out here and tapping guys. Awesome. Coming up next, we'll look at some other teams that feel like they've gotten hit in the nuts so far this season. Welcome back to GoJo and Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., Emerson Latzia, and we're embarrassing. Like during this last break, we get done. Keegan Bradley joins the show, and as soon as he gets off, we're all like, man, I think we're in love.
Yeah.
Like, are we the #1 Keegan Bradley stand show now? What the hell just happened, guys? Everyone's faces are flush right now. You all got that schoolgirl smile. It's incredible.
I mean, listen, that's what you hope for when you get an interview, right? Somebody that isn't afraid to dive in deep on not only their own feelings, but in how he broke that down. He told me things, we watch golf all the time, play golf, but I was amazed to hear some of the strategy involved about the golf ball. Now, maybe I'm just, very naive as far as golf is concerned, and maybe other people knew that, but I didn't. And that was amazing. But just how he wears his heart in his sleeve, that his loss on Sunday was it 12 or 14? That was the final point.
14.
That they lost to Europe. I mean, as he said, he thinks about it daily and will for the rest of his life. I mean, that's because it's such an individual sport that every couple of years you get the team aspect. So now your shot just doesn't affect you. Your shot affects you, your teammates, and in essence, your country. That all of a sudden, how heavy that's got to weigh on you.
I loved him pulling back the curtain there, and I kind of feel bad for him, Gojo, because the dude, since 2012 and 2014, again, like we talked about in the break, he was part of 2 Ryder Cups that were not known for the greatest reasons for the United States. Like, this dude has lived in mental anguish and pain for the past decade, thinking about it every day.
You know what? Honestly, the worst I felt for him, too, was that bag of issued gear, because that stuff's got to be sick.
Yeah.
Got to be.
That's the #1
Put that
thing.
on eBay right now.
Yeah.
When we lost the national championship in 2012, that's some of the only issue gear I kept when I left college, was all the stuff that had the BCS championship logo on it. Like, I had a bunch of Sun Bowl gear and Champ Sports Bowl, which shout out to the Sun Bowl, shout out to the Champ Sports Bowl. I think it's a different name now.
Yeah, sure it is.
Either way, like, all that stuff is fine. But when you got stuff with the BCS championship logo on it, I mean, at this point, it was fit for me when I was 300 pounds and it was Adidas gear. Like, I haven't rocked it in a while, but I kept all of it. And every once in a while, you bust it out when you're feeling froggy. I bet that Ryder Cup gear, I mean, we see what they do for the Olympics and all these events.
Yeah.
It's fresh as hell. And he's got that just sitting in the garage collecting dust right now. That's pain.
I would be wearing that stuff all the time, when you get special things like that. And his is in a bag. Hopefully not, and moths haven't got into it.
I mean,
Do you think that maybe he just keeps it in the bag in the garage, but pulls some of it out to wear it every once in a while and just keeps up with the story?
Because
he's miserable, Mike. He's miserable.
If he's wearing it somewhere, there's going to be a picture of it. And if that picture ever got out,
maybe he just wears it at home. Maybe it's his lounge gear.
Maybe, who knows? Maybe his roommate's like, hey, you want to put that shirt on? I really like when you wear that shirt.
The Ryder Cup pajamas that he got or something.
What if they had a full PJ set? I don't know. I feel like that would be some golf.
Yeah.
I almost swore. Either way, thank you to Keegan Bradley. It was awesome to take a look under the hood and, hear how much these guys enjoy the team setting there, because we always talk about the difference between team and individual sports. And that really shone through. And right now, a bunch of teams that got to lean on each other in the NFL are the quartet that are getting ready to all square off this weekend. The Vikings and Panthers and the Broncos and Bears. The battle of the defeateds in the NFL coming up this weekend. Only 6 teams in the Super Bowl era have made the playoffs after starting 0-3, and the 1992 San Diego Superchargers have made the playoffs after starting 0-4. So the cliff gets more massive this weekend. Dad, is the most disrespectful thing so far this NFL season the fact that the Chicago Bears are home dogs to a team that just got 70 put on them? I cannot fathom the rage that would build in my gut if I was in that Bears locker room looking up at that.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that because there were, now, I don't think anybody was picking the Bears to win the division, but everybody was thinking the Bears were going in the right direction, finally getting Justin Fields some ammo around him. But listen, they flat out stink. All these teams do. The Vikings, we would think, have the most potential because they have the best quarterback out of this group and probably the most potent offense with the best receiver in Justin Jefferson. But yeah, you just had 70 put on you, and you're a favorite on the road like the Broncos are. That blows my mind. I don't even know what the hell to expect in these games. I really don't. Now, I think I expect the Vikings to take advantage of Carolina's defense. As I just said, that offense can be pretty potent for the Vikings. So I think they can put some points up on Carolina, and we'll see what happens on the other side. But the Broncos and Bears is what everybody's going to be tuned into. How do you respond after giving up 70 points? And how do you respond to absolutely stinking up the joint like the Chicago Bears are doing? So, I mean,
it probably says more about Justin Fields, right? And the current state of the Bears than it does the Broncos, with the Broncos being favored.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think if you're going to look at all four of these teams, right, and their station in life, we talked about the Denver Broncos feel the most hopeless because they seem the most locked into their situation. But as far as actual in-building misery, the Bears have had so much upheaval with everything that's gone on with their defensive coordinator, with the comments from Justin Fields. I saw yesterday he had already resorted to the LeBron James, I'm a father, I'm a husband kind of mode of saying, well, listen, I'm still, young. I have a great job. I've got a great life. I'm not 6 feet deep. Like, they seem to be going through it a lot more than a Vikings team that knows they got a different future coming right now and is playing really well on offense. Like, Dad, at the very least, when things are going poorly, there's a lot of guys in that Vikings, at least offensive side of the ball, that can go, all right, well, at least I'm doing numbers right now.
I agree. And it's still, to me, the only thing to look for with the Vikings is, what do you do with Kirk Cousins when you get close to the trade deadline? If your team's not going to be there in the end, are you going to lose him for nothing because you're not going to franchise him next year? So to me, that's almost the entire Minnesota Vikings storyline. If we're not going to put them in the playoffs, which I don't think they're going to make, what are you going to do at that position? For the rest of these teams, and for the Panthers, it's easy too. Bryce young quarterback, nicked up now, had missed some time, get him his reps, and they're a young building team. For the Broncos, they bring in a Super Bowl coach. They have what everybody thinks is a Hall of Fame quarterback who is really off his game right now, but not a whole lot around them. What can they build that team to? To me, it's the Broncos and the Bears of where can you build this team? And you got new ownership in Denver, high-priced coach, high-priced quarterback, but a lot of demoralized players on that team. And then a Bears situation that, I mean, they're getting hit in every angle you possibly can, both on the field and off the field.
I forgot they got like $100,000 worth of stuff stolen from their facility too. Like, that's the one it feels the most. And God, the pun is fully intended. Bad news Bears right now in that organization.
Hey,
like, it is in disarray.
A question. So if the Bears are on this collision course with the number 1 overall pick, they go Caleb Williams, right?
Yeah. Oh, hey, to me, it's
and move on.
I mean, we'll have our favorite flavor of ice cream between Caleb Williams and Drake May. I just went back and spent time watching some Caleb Williams this year. Sweet, merciful Christ.
Dude. Yeah,
dude can move around. I mean, what he does on the fly is absolutely incredible. But I would Emerson, I would tend to agree. I mean, Justin Fields, and you could talk about, is it the weapons? Is it Luke Getsy? What? But like we know, pretty much with everything, it's a little bit of everything and not just one thing. But if it's not panning out in year 3 and it's not looking like it's getting any better, I would imagine they're going to move on from the situation.
Okay. Yeah, so Emerson, because they already went through that flirtation last year with Bryce Young and the will they won't they around the number 1 pick. I'd imagine an organization that's led by a group now in the GM and company that don't have ties to Justin Fields aren't going to wait around another year to see if they make that wrong decision.
Last 21 seasons here too, 15 times, so about 71% of the time, the number 1 overall pick was landed by a team that started the season 0-4. So the Bears want to lose this game.
I would imagine there's some at this point. And again, Dad, you made the point. It's not really all been Justin Fields' fault. We've talked about the adverse set of circumstances here. We've seen the conversation around their receivers, who he's got available to them. But the easiest path forward in so many people's minds of changing the course of your organization is at that position. And the Bears, once again, could be walking into Emerson's point to the party with the right amount of ammunition to go and get that done. Coming up next, let's take a look back in college as we finally get a decision made by Michigan State looking ahead at their future at football. Guys, I can't believe it's taken us this long to get to the biggest news of the day.
Oh, no, you're not going to. No.
Front Office Sports.
Your birthday? You mean that it's your birthday?
You know what? And the gift I'm getting is apparently Taylor Swift going for round 2 this weekend. Front Office Sports saying that she's supposedly going to be in the stadium for Chiefs at Jets this upcoming weekend. Guys, Travis Kelce has gone out of his way to ensure that she arrives during the 2-game stretch where it's going to look like the Chiefs are overwhelmingly the best team in football. I almost feel bad. We're giving the new Swifties that are joining the NFL scene the London treatment and sending them the Bears and the Jets as the teams they get to watch in the 2 weeks of their enjoyment of this process.
But at least they get to see, oh, wow, the person Taylor is interested in. Boy, he's a great player in this game of football that we're watching now that we don't really understand.
we saw the pictures of them canoodling a little bit at that rooftop party.
Oh yeah,
guys,
that was
legit
the arm
right now.
That was the arm on the shoulder.
Probably dead in a ditch somewhere right now for leaking that, but still.
And don't forget the $6 sliders at that restaurant. I brought that up to my wife yesterday, and she's like, "Why are you so obsessed with this?" And I said, "Because a little mini slider, should not be $6."
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Thank you.
And it is interesting. I wonder if there was supposedly because Mike, your sister Sydney and her husband Ben, they were at a wedding in Vegas where they were supposedly supposed to not have phones, to not have any pictures. And that went by the wayside. They ended up bringing pictures. But you didn't see a lot of pictures from that. So I wonder if there was a no phone policy at that get together. Because I don't know if have you seen? I haven't really looked, to be honest with you, if there were any other pictures, but I would imagine if there was, they'd have been all over the internet.
Yeah, no, I have not seen anything else.
Point.
This is about the only leak. And I figured it was going to be that case. Airtight, Travis Kelce went on New Heights yesterday and said from here on out, he's going to keep this a private matter. He said she doesn't have her life out there talked about like that on her own. He does the podcast. He does all that. But said he was going to be respectful of whatever the situation is between the two. And then this picture pop out, which simultaneously shows them looking a little cozier than some people had seen, the body language experts out there that were trying to read through all this. But we get the news apparently back for round 2 this weekend with the Jets and Chiefs. They better have that Swift cam ready in this game because this game could get ugly in a hurry.
Yeah, and also let's keep in mind, Mr. Steal Your Girl, Aaron Rodgers is going to be in the house. Yay or nay?
Oh, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to be angling for a photo or something because we know he was vibing out at the Taylor Swift concert when it came to New York. But no. She's a one-man woman, and Travis is a one-woman man. Let's put it this way. If you're into Travis Kelce, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers would also be in your same taste range as far as guys and playing football.
Yeah. Listen, they're both guys that are walking into the Hall of Fame. Obviously, in at their respective positions. Travis Kelce may even be higher on the list, right?
Oh,
when
yeah.
you start talking
As far as his
all-time
position?
tight ends higher on the list from this position than Aaron Rodgers is going to be at his position. So yeah, she's not looking away from Travis Kelce to look at Aaron Rodgers, even though, it's not like Aaron is chopped liver here. I mean, seriously.
Exactly. Imagine Aaron and Taylor together, and then Aaron like leaving. She's like, "Hey, honey, like, where are you going?" He's like, "I'll be back in 3 days. I'm gonna go live in this dark room and just like take mushrooms."
Yeah, with some psychedelics. Yeah.
Yeah. And Aaron definitely strikes me as a folklore Evermore guy, if we're going to read it there, where Travis is full blown burning red. That dude's having a blast. So we'll wait and see more on that, as you're going to get it. If you're one of the people that didn't like this coverage, too bad, because I bet the NFL is loving this.
Yep.
And so am I. So back for 7 hours of commercial-free Taylor Swift NFL coverage right here on Monday, baby. That is what we've got going on in the NFL. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, keeping this thing going. Emerson, I want to downshift hard here as we get to the next subject, because this is a lot more serious. What we've had going on in college football with Michigan State and Mel Tucker and the situation surrounding his impropriety there now seems to have finally come to the head, as Michigan State is set to fire Mel Tucker for cause after the events that unfolded.
Yeah, it was this formally completed a process that was initiated last week, GoJo. Tucker is under university investigation for a sexual misconduct complaint brought by Brenda Tracy, a sexual assault awareness speaker. So this is a statement here on your screen that Michigan State has put out. For his admitted and undisputed behaviors which have brought public disrespect, contempt, and ridicule upon the university, and constitute a material breach of his agreement and moral turpitude. So this is not good, Mike. This is not a good finish. This is not a good ending to the Mel Tucker era there in Michigan State.
No, it's not. And we talked with Nicole Auerbach about that moral turpitude clause, basically bringing this scrutiny on the university with actions that they believe are indisputable based off the evidence, things that Mel Tucker admitted to, albeit he claims consensual, that happened between him and Brenda Tracy, ultimately brought this negative scrutiny onto the university in a way that was deemed inappropriate on its own, irregardless of whether you believe it was consensual or not, based on what Mel Tucker said. And Dad, for Michigan State, now they begin the incredibly difficult task of trying to find who's going to come and man the helm at this job next, that, yes, is inside the Big Ten, has been in a school that's got some prestige historically, but also a school that has dealt with a rash of headlines and incidents like this on its campus in a way that I'd have to imagine are going to make it a daunting task for whoever takes over.
They've been in the news for all the wrong reasons, right? The school, the athletic department, for all the wrong reasons. So yeah, where do you go? Where do you get somebody? Are you going to be able to get a veteran coach, or is it going to have to be a new young coach? Or maybe you want to go a new young coach to kind of start fresh here, because that's kind of what we're talking about with these schools. You talk about with Northwestern, because remember, with Pat Fitzgerald and Northwestern, it wasn't just football. With Michigan State, it wasn't just this situation and not just football. It's other things in the athletic department as well. So you kind of look for that fresh start. So I have a feeling it will be more a younger coach, maybe a first-time head coach or a younger head coach, that's going to take over the helm. Remember, this started in December of 22, this investigation, and that's what Mel Tucker seemed to be hanging on was, wait a minute, this is a consensual relationship. So, what's the deal? And the university, as Emerson Red is saying, basically, we know, we don't care. It still brought embarrassment and ridicule upon our school, and given the circumstances, and you're going to be gone. And from for people that want to look at it from a monetary side, remember the deal this guy signed was a $95 million deal, which a lot of people looked at anyway and said, why are you signing this guy to a 9-10-year deal and giving him that much money? I think that was
because that's what happens now.
And I wonder how much more that's going to happen. Jimbo Fisher got the long deal. That's not working out. Obviously, the Mel Tucker deal is gone. I'll be interested to see if those kind of deals still go out the way they're going out now. But bottom line, Mel Tucker left $79 million on the table for his actions. I mean, That from and I know it's all bigger than money, but my God,
it's one of the most famous bag fumblings of all time. Truly, I can't think of one in recent memory as staggering as this. Dad, you mentioned some of the candidates. Richard Johnson over at Sports Illustrated put together a list of some guys. Tell me what you think of some of these names. Mike Elko, the head coach at Duke that we're getting ready to see this weekend. Mark Stoops at Kentucky, I think would be crazy to leave what's been one of the best gigs in college football. Chris Kleiman already came out and said that he is not going to be a candidate for this job, the head coach in Manhattan at Kansas State. And Lance Leipold at Kansas also mentioned in there. Dad, to your point, though, he mentions a couple of the coordinators to watch in this one, and we've heard this name going back to week 1 when Colorado burst on the scene. I'd have to imagine there's going to be a very long phone call to Colorado offensive coordinator Sean Lewis for the work that he's already done with the Buffs. Out there, spent time as a head coach at Kent State, so has experience as a head coach as well. He's going to be one of the hot names of this cycle, and I'd be stunned if Michigan State's not trying to throw a bunch of money his way.
Why not Deion? Why just go for Deion then if you're going to go out there?
Yeah, I don't think that one's going to happen right now either. And the other head coaches you mentioned, it's a great job for them if they don't want to go to Michigan State to use it as leverage to get themselves another extension at the school they're at. If you got the leverage, hammer, swing that hammer, get more money.
And to your point of why those 10-year deals are going to keep happening, it's because of what you just said and the fact that Jimmy Sexton still exists and walks this earth. Coming up next, let's get golden. Give some company for Dad on set. Old Bachelor next. Oh, God. Welcome back to GoJo and Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., Emerson Latzia. Thanks to our guests here. It's been a banger of a day around here. JJ Redick starting off the show with us. Will Gray getting us ready for some Ryder Cup. Keegan Bradley coming in and blowing all our minds, talking about ball spin and Mac Jones not being a nut tapper. If you enjoyed any of that, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, review, leave us that 5-star rating. Check us out on DraftKings YouTube, DraftKingsNetwork.com, Samsung TV Plus, and a bunch of other places now. We're getting in front of more eyeballs. It's been a fun time around here. But guys, why don't we finish this off the way we always do with this, that, and the third. 3 quick stories to send you guys off into your day. And let's start off with this. Yesterday, Philadelphia, which we've talked about a lot on this show for various reasons, ranging from the Kelseys to the Eagles, all that. We're also home to some unique experience yesterday at the Phillies park. A Phillies fan tried to come into a game last night with what they said was a service animal. It was an alligator. According to Sports Radio WIP, a picture of the alligator on a leash outside the stadium has emerged. We've seen a lot of people over the years, guys, especially on planes, try and change up what you can think of as an emotional support animal. I, for one, think they should have let the gator in. This feels discriminatory.
No shot. No, absolutely not. Could you imagine? Could you imagine walking? How about if they walked an alligator when you're on a plane? Said it's an emotional alligator, or came in with a snake, a rattler that says, this is an emotional snake for me.
So you're discriminating against reptiles.
There's been a peacock on a plane.
Yes, I am discriminating against those types of animals.
Wow.
I don't want to be near them. I don't.
Here's the thing, too. Wally has been in the stands for minor league games, okay? And the Phillies have hosted animals. There's Bark in the Park and all that stuff.
Right.
The fact that they're turning Wally away absolutely is
So he's already been to games.
Don't care.
But
don't
not
care.
a big league game. Like, this was Wally's first big league game, and you denied him that opportunity, that chance to watch the best baseball players in the world. And
baseball gatekeeping yet again.
Yeah. Yes, I don't want him. Listen, he's living a good life. He's eating chicken or Cheetos and chicken legs.
Maybe small children and small dogs as well.
You got to zigzag.
I'm not taking that. Yeah, you got to zigzag. That's exactly right. Because they're quick for the first 10, 20 yards.
And you know what? Another thing that they denied Wally, Topanga, everyone's childhood crush. She threw out the first pitch at the Phillies game last night. Wally wanted to get in there early and watch Topanga go to work on the mound and throw heat.
I guarantee you, Topanga didn't want a picture with Wally. I guarantee you.
Oh, yeah, you guarantee that? You don't know that. You don't know that.
I am going to say she did not want a picture with Wally.
That's BS. You don't know anything.
Nope, not happening.
Put it on the poll. Did Topanga want a picture with Wally?
Absolutely
I say yes.
not.
Oh, man, Dad, this is a really ugly side of you. I'm a little worried. We lived in Florida, Dad. We were around these creatures all the time.
And
exposure usually breeds tolerance. And instead here it's made you a gator bigot.
We did live there, and I didn't like alligators and snakes then, and I don't like them now. I don't, and I certainly don't want them near anybody of my kids. We would live there when you guys were kids. Man, are you kidding me? You think I wasn't eagle-eyeing all the time with the body of water behind us to make sure there are no gators around?
You guys
sir.
Did you know that there is a 27-year-old, 7-foot, 200-pound emotional support alligator, of course, down in Panama City, Florida, named Bubba, and he visits schools year-round every year.
That's Bubba. I mean, look what a cute name, too. I bet he's got a big toothy smile.
I love the names. Listen,
grin.
I love the names Bubba and Wally, but no thank you. No thank you.
Oh, man.
Oh, dude, the kids get to learn alligator facts and give the gator a big scaly hug.
Oh, see? You know what, Dad? And you know what? They can learn that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush. Those are the fun facts that you don't get without Bubba the Gator coming to your school.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The medulla oblongata.
Mama is wrong.
More like the medulla oblongata. Am I right?
Oh,
anyway,
move on.
Let's get to that.
Move on.
Guys, you're both married men who know all about marrying up and finding better halves.
Damn right.
Emerson, it appears Jordan Montgomery has now joined those ranks with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. On the Foul Territory podcast, touched on the topic of marrying up and specifically marrying a doctor. Listen to this.
Yeah, I got myself a doctor, dude.
Money. Yeah, you married up, dude. You have to explain that. Is she blind?
No.
You got a doctor?
I got a doctor. I got a pretty doctor, too. She's the best.
Well, I assume she's pretty because you're a pretty man. But a doctor? Do you guys not talk?
Oh, we talk all the time. She loves how dumb I am. That's what makes it work. I don't know nothing she's talking about.
It was I got myself a doctor, dude, that started it off. That did it for me.
So the Rangers pitcher, whose nickname is Gumby, by the way, in a way that's fascinating to me, marrying a doctor here. Dad, this is something we've lived on the other side because my sister Sydney married her husband Ben, who's in med school right now, and routinely has been trying to help him study, go over flashcards, and been reduced to tears by the sheer volume of stuff she does not know about her husband's future profession.
So let's lay this out, okay? My daughter, your sister, very athletic, went to Notre Dame on a swimming scholarship, excellent swimmer. Ben, her husband, Ben Broniker is his name. Ben Broniker went to Harvard, played football at Harvard, played for the Bears for 5 years as a tight end, the Chicago Bears, and is now in med school to be a neurologist. So that's Ben's resume. Sydney's resume is, and this is self-admittedly on our Sorry in Advance Family podcast.
Be careful.
Oh no, I'm gonna say it.
All right, do it.
He once needed a suppository and took it by mouth. Okay.
What?
Yes.
I mean, it makes its way down.
Well, yeah, but
it's all connected.
We know the way it's supposed to go in. She took it by mouth and then called the poison control because she wasn't sure what to do because Ben was at class for med school. And she said the poison control lady literally chuckled at her, which is something we do daily.
That seems deeply unprofessional, by the way.
I know.
You got to have to stay on and do the review after and completely one-star rating the poison control phone officer there. What the hell?
I got to believe once she heard the chuckle, she figured she was going to be okay. Probably not going to chuckle if it's a dire situation.
It's crazy. You're going to die.
Exactly. It's meant to go in your body. It's just a torpedo that's supposed to go up the other way.
But she said once Ben got home and she told Ben the story, she said Ben gave her the most disappointed look. It's like when a parent gives the kid, it's like, I'd rather my parent be mad at me than give me the disappointed look. She said, he looked so disappointed in me. And I'm like, I bet he did. So you want to talk about marrying up? I married a doctor. That's your sister.
Oh, man.
Think about what a wild circumstance she arrived in where someone is mad at you for not shoving something up your butt. You know how rare that is in life? That's such a rare moment in anyone's life where someone's chastising you for not putting something up your butt. That is a wild world we live in.
Nut tapping earlier in the show and now butt stuff. Wow, this is
well, there you go.
Tales old
Thirsty Thursday.
Let's finish it off with a little Golden Bachelor, guys. The latest installment of the Bachelor franchise begins tonight as 71-year-old Jerry Turner gets set to take center stage as the Bachelor on here. He's going to be dating a group of women between the ages of 60 and 75, 22 women. For the 71-year-old from Indiana, he is a widower. He was a longtime married man, 43 years before his wife unfortunately fell ill and passed away in 2017. He walks into this with 2 daughters as well as 2 granddaughters in this situation. Guys, I'm all the way back in. I had been a huge fan of this franchise for a long time. I felt like the formula had gotten a little bit stale. My eye had wandered to franchises like Love is Blind. I'm all the way back in, Dad, just to see the dynamic on this show with the different age bracket, because usually the cliff between 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds on the show had felt seismic in terms of what their maturity level was, what they were looking for. I'm fascinated to see what a bunch of 60 to 70-year-olds feel and operate here.
What brought you back in is the thought that 60 to 75-year-olds are going to make out publicly.
Yeah.
I mean, no.
Come on.
Your mother and I are 60 and we still make out. But you know what? We don't do it publicly, okay? We don't do it in front of cameras. Can you imagine? And can you imagine when we get to the fantasy suite?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously?
And you know what, Mr. G? You and Christine making out 34 years and roughly 9 months ago. What did that turn into? This handsome little fella on your screen. Happy birthday again, GoJo.
Yes, happy birthday, son.
Thanks, guys. I miss my blonde hair badly. We'll miss you guys till tomorrow. Thanks so much. We'll see you then.